Welcome, Cynically Awesome viewers. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own foam insert. This will be the comprehensive how-to for someone who's never done this before. So what you're going to need: the box that you want to make a foam insert for. Here I've got something for Eldritch Horror. Actually no, this is for Mansions of Madness, the original expansion from their first edition. I'm going to make a foam insert inside of this to hold my Arkham Horror the card game cards, because this box is flimsy garbage. So we're going to get rid of that and put everything we need into this. So we need this box. We're going to need our foam board. This is what it looks like when you find it in the store. And right here, that's what it is. You can find this at any sort of craft store, usually around the kids crafting. I think it's used for like science projects and such. This is what you need, and they're pretty cheap. So you need one of these, straight edge, some white glue. Any glue is fine, but white glue actually holds surprisingly well once it's all put together. Knife, some sort, X-Acto knife, box cutter like this, something with replaceable blades, because Styrofoam destroys blades, and so you want something that's easily replaceable and cost effective. And a pencil. And the very last thing is a tape measure, or some way to measure in a more flexible way than a straight edge. So the first thing I like to do with most of my boxes, not all of them, but you measure the inside dimensions. Here I've got about 24.5 centimeters by, I'm assuming 24.5 centimeters. So I'm going to make those measurements on this board and cut it out. You're going to want to reduce as much human error as possible, because depending on the tools you're using, it might cause issues in your measurements and your cuts. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the less errors you will have, the easier it'll be in the end, especially if you're making more complicated foam inserts. For this box, I'm going to be making a very simple card holder box, because that's all I needed to do. I measured out my space, seems to be about right, and so we'll take our knife and cut this up. Now another thing you're going to want to have that I didn't mention before is a cutting board surface. Whether you have a big cutting board mat or something similar, here I'm just using a fold-up table because I don't care if I cut into this. I usually put something over this anyways, and that way I don't have to worry about cutting into the surface of what I'm working on or damaging anything beneath my cuts. And there, that was a nice clean cut. Make sure this fits, and boom, perfect. The reason why we want to put something here at the bottom is for enhanced stability, and this is going to be where we glue the rest of our foam board onto. So since I'm going to make this for cards, I have the cards here that I'm actually going to be using. Now, I don't use precise measurements when I do these foam inserts. I kind of use the components of the game as measurement tools. So here, I already know that I'm going to be able to fit 3 decks along the top and on the bottom. But even with that, I have to make the decision of how I'm going to set up their cells. Just as an example here, we have 2 different ways that we can set up these cells when it comes to cards. Because cards are going to be the most common component you usually have within your games, you can look at it like this. See, here in the top, you have to have a way to grab the cards once they're inside the cells. So you can either grab it from the front, like this, so you kind of pull it up, or you can grab them from the sides and kind of pinch it to pull the cards up. Whichever method you want to do is completely up to you. It also depends on how much foam you have left, your personal preference, or the design of the rest of your foam insert. For me, I'm going to use this sideways pinch method. That way I can have one long piece of foam board here for enhanced stability, and once it's all done, I'll have all of this negative space for something, whether it's pieces of paper to fit in, or extra tokens, or dice, or whatever. I want to at least have that option open to me. So, now that I've decided that, we need to decide how high this box goes. And so, with our insert inside, we'll measure up. And here, I usually like to leave at least ½ inch of space from the very top of the box. That way, you have enough for any extra rule books that might go on top. And once you finally close it with the box, it'll be nice and flush. And so I'm just going to go based off the height of the box. And so here, 4 or 3.5 centimeters will be good enough. So I'll go with 3.5. So now we have our Y and we have an X. And so I'm going to make the sides of this insert. Alright, so here I have two of my sides. They fit just right. And so I'm going to glue them in. Simply take your glue, put a nice line on the edge, and lay it right on top. Now you can do this inside or outside of the box. I do it inside because I really don't care. But if you do it inside, you run the risk of having the glue not only bind the foam insert, but bind to the box itself. So whether or not you actually want to take out the foam insert is up to you. But me, I know I'm never going to use this for any other purpose other than for this insert, so I have no qualms with it. So now I've got my two sides. They're going to glue, and it's going to be great. Now, when I measure for this next edge, you'll notice that the foam insert takes up space itself. Now, depending on the board that you get, it might be different, but the edges here of the insert are about ½ centimeter. And so when I measure my new edge here, what used to be, what was it? 24.5 centimeters, now becomes 23.5 centimeters. So just be conscious of that and don't just willy-nilly cut things. Because, oh, all four sides are the same. Well, yes, but you're working with 3D space here. Alright, and here we have our new edges, and they fit. Now, there's some imperfections here on their height, because I'm not a perfect cutter. But that's okay. If you have a way to reduce your imperfections, great for you. And when you're gluing together edges, you can put glue here so that the corners are glued to each other and not just the base. And there you go. Once that glues in, that'll be our sturdy foundation to make the inside of the insert. Now you can wait, and it's probably best to wait because you'll have some glue kind of peering out from the bottom of these edges. But me, I use the components to measure out my space. Now, let me just make sure I'm not going to put my cards on any glue. I would never harm my components. So people who say that I am, trust me, I know what I'm doing. So right there is going to be the height I need. And then I get to glue this board right in here. So that's perfectly flush and made to fit. Or you can just take a pencil and right there. That's why I have trouble when people say, oh, can you give me the dimensions? I can't, because I literally don't work with dimensions. I work with the components. I could measure the components, but I mean, that's not my process. So once this all dries, then it becomes a matter of making smaller cells within this larger box that I can kind of drop the cards in. What I like to do, I'll take usually the scrap that I have left over, and I'll make smaller tabs inside these boxes. And I'll show you what I mean. Here I've got some scrap that matches the height of my insert here. So what I'm going to do is kind of cut this in half, but at an angle, like such. Now this is made two little tabs that are like trapezoids. Simply take this and glue it to the edges so that now you'll make a cell for a deck that has an open spot for your fingers to pinch the components inside. And just like that, we're done. A very simple foam insert to hold many decks of cards. Just the thing you'll need for something like Arkham Horror the card game. So once this is all dry, I'll place my cards inside their cells and it'll be perfectly secure. And just for fun, most Fantasy Flight games comes with like this cardboard topper. I kind of like to cut it to size and then place it on top. That way it prevents any components from inside kind of sliding around, but it also lets me place things like rule books or extra papers on top so that when I open the box to use it, I can just kind of take the cardboard and everything else will come off with it. But I mean, that's just my personal preference. And everything is secure. As I mentioned here, now I have this big old open space that I could use for, I don't know, anything. Maybe I'll put a pencil in there, or some dice, or an eraser, tokens, whatever. It's space. But this is the most basic introduction to how to make your own foam insert. As you see, I still have plenty of foam left for any other projects. But anyway, if you have any other questions on how to make foam inserts, or if you would like to see some more advanced techniques, leave a comment below and be sure to subscribe and like the video to support the future release of other videos like this. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching.